A horse guard parade has taken place as Britain's King Charles III welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa to London. It comes as he begins his official two-day trip, where he'll also meet with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Newzroom Africa's Govan Whittles live for us from the British capital. Govan, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. So we saw the President just a little earlier this afternoon doing the traditional laying of the wreath. This is at the grave of the unknown soldier. Of course, it's part of the itinerary, really, that is planned for eminent individuals like him when they do visit the UK.
It is, and the President receiving first-class treatment here in the United Kingdom, the first state visit being undertaken by the new monarch, King Charles III. And as you said, we're here outside Westminster Abbey, which is the site of coronation for England's kings and queens. It was where the late Queen Elizabeth was coronated, and this is where King Charles III will be coronated as king next year. And the President not only laying a wreath at the grave of the unknown soldier, which is customary for the visiting heads of state, and the flowers also a royal bouquet coming from the Prince and Princess of Wales. The President also taking some time to observe the memorial stone for the late former President Nelson Mandela. The stone placed half a meter away from the stone, the memorial stone for Sir Isaac Newton, with the name of former President Nelson Mandela on, as well as the inscription forgiveness and reconciliation, the principles for which he stood. The President also taken through Westminster Abbey, observing the grave site of one of the saints who founded the Abbey, and importantly, one of the clergymen here praying for the President and for South Africa for his leadership. This is just one of those symbolic visits that the President has undertaken, similar to the Horse Guard welcome this morning with King Charles and the arrival at Buckingham Palace, and then the customary lunch with the King and the Queen Consort, where we do understand a few words were exchanged. We'll have to wait for Buckingham Palace to issue any sort of report if they choose to do that about the contents of that discussion, but the real public statements will follow later. And coming up later this evening is the President's address to that joint sitting of the British Parliament, which is at the Palace of Westminster, and of course later on even there'll be a state gala dinner. That dinner will be addressed by the President and the King later on, which will give us a sense of the King's views towards South Africa and its relationship with the monarchy here, with Great Britain. And earlier we spoke to the Minister of Development in Africa, the Minister of State in the Foreign Affairs Department, who indicated that there were some serious talks about increased investment in infrastructure, and particularly more British companies expanding their reach in renewable energy in South Africa. The President indicating yesterday that this visit is underpinned by the need to raise foreign direct investment and expand trade with the UK. Total trade since 1994 with the UK going over £6 billion, and the President pointing to the UK obviously as one of the leading foreign direct investors in South Africa, and South Africa being the UK's biggest trading partner on the African continent, saying that there are other areas where they can collaborate, particularly in skills transfer. The Minister of Higher Education, Blade Nzimande, also here, and yesterday at that Friends of South Africa Forum dinner, the President hearing from some alumni from the different programs that are run between universities in South Africa and universities here in Great Britain. Kathy, that speech at Westminster Palace to the British Parliament is highly anticipated. We're waiting to hear what our President will say about future cooperation with the UK. We know he'll have a discussion with the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and we know that the issue of Ukraine is a touchy subject. We spoke to Naledi Pandor, who said that she doesn't believe the global conflicts will put any sour or will sour any state visit, or particularly this one. And it looks like they'll be focusing on where they can improve their relationship instead of focusing on the more controversial aspects for which there is some tension.
All right, Govan, we'll leave it there for now. Of course, we will be bringing you the President's address as soon as it gets underway.